Have you ever seen a landmark so cool, it makes you just stop and stare?
Oh, yeah, tons.
Well, today we're going to dive deep into one of those, the Kuwait Towers.
Awesome.
Um, Whether you're like a world traveler or just exploring from your couch, I think you'll find this story super interesting.
I think so too.
We've got some really cool excerpts about Kuwait and the towers themselves.
Okay,
So let's get right to it.
let's jump in.
These towers are so much more than just a pretty face, right?
Oh, absolutely. To really get them, you kind of have to understand Kuwait itself.
Okay.
It's this
He's
tiny
Mariana.
but super wealthy country right there on the Arabian Peninsula.
Wow.
You know, huge oil reserves and this really cool mix of Arabian, Islamic, and Persian influences.
Yeah.
And of course, that classic desert landscape.
You know, I've always wanted to visit Kuwait.
It's beautiful.
I remember reading somewhere that they have one of the strongest currencies in the world,
Oh, yeah.
the Kuwaiti dinar.
It's strong.
What makes it so strong?
Well, a lot of it comes down to their oil wealth, and the government's really worked hard to keep it valuable.
Oh.
But think about what a strong currency like that says about Kuwait's place in the world.
Yeah,
I mean, it shows they've got this economic stability and power.
that's wild for such a small country.
Yeah, it is pretty fascinating.
So back to the towers. I've seen pictures, and they're just breathtaking.
Aren't they, though?
With those, like, shimmering blue, green, and gray steel plates.
Oh, yeah.
What was the architect even going for there?
Well, the towers were actually designed by a Swedish firm.
Oh,
But get this, they were built by a Yugoslavian company.
so interesting.
Yeah, and that really tells you a lot about Kuwait's modernization back in the late 20th century.
Like they wanted to be cutting edge.
Exactly. They were looking outwards, inviting in experts from around the world.
To create something special.
Exactly, to create something totally unique.
But you know what's funny?
What's that?
They don't really look like European architecture.
No, they don't.
There's something very distinct about their style.
Oh, for sure. And that's where the architectural genius really comes in.
Okay.
The design blends Islamic and modern styles so beautifully.
Interesting.
You see it in those spherical shapes, like traditional Islamic domes.
Yeah.
But they're reimagined with these super modern materials and engineering techniques.
Yeah.
It's a bold statement,
It is?
symbolizing how Kuwait's bridging its heritage and its hopes for the future.
See, this is why I love doing these deep dives.
Me too.
You start with something that seems like a simple landmark,
Right.
and suddenly you're uncovering all these layers of meaning.
It's amazing.
Speaking of layers,
Yeah,
I read that there are actually 3 towers, not just one.
that's right.
What's the story there?
Well, each tower has a totally different purpose.
Okay,
But they're all connected in this really clever way.
I like that.
So the tallest one, the one everyone recognizes, is 187 meters high.
Wow.
It's got that amazing revolving restaurant
Yeah.
and an observation deck with views of the whole city.
That's so cool.
But here's where it gets really cool. The lower sphere of that tower actually holds a giant water tank.
A water tank, so it's not just about looking pretty.
No way. Remember, Kuwait's a desert country.
Right.
Water is super precious there.
Yeah.
Historically, they collected it in those traditional wind towers.
Oh, right.
So putting a water tank inside this modern icon, it shows just how crucial water is to Kuwait's culture and survival.
That is brilliant.
It's such a smart blend of symbolism and practicality.
I love that. Okay, what about the other 2 towers?
So the second tower is 147 meters tall,
Okay.
and it's completely dedicated to storing water.
Wow.
I mean, that just shows you how important that resource is.
It really does.
And the third tower, the smallest one at 113 meters,
Yeah.
it holds all the electrical equipment,
Interesting.
but they tucked it away really cleverly so it doesn't take away from the other 2 towers.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So 3 towers, each with its own job, but all working together. It's like a mini Kuwait itself.
Yeah.
Modern, resourceful, and always adapting.
I like that.
But these towers also have a lot of historical baggage.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm thinking about the damage they suffered during the Iraqi invasion back in 1990.
Right. Well, you're right. The towers were damaged during the war.
Yeah.
But what's really important is that they were carefully restored afterwards.
Oh, wow.
And that active rebuilding that shows you Kuwait's resilience.
Their strength.
Exactly. They refuse to be broken.
Yeah.
Just like those towers were brought back to life, so is Kuwait's will to move forward.
Man, I'm getting chills just thinking about it.
It's powerful.
So these stunning towers, they're
Yeah.
just pretty to look at,
I'll
but
bet.
they're so smart in their design.
Absolutely.
And they represent so much about Kuwait's history, its culture, its spirit.
It's all right there.
It really makes you think,
It does.
looking at these towers and everything they stand for,
Yeah.
what kind of impact will they have on future architecture, both in the region and around the world?
That's a great question.
Are they like a glimpse into the future?
Interesting.
A model for how to blend cultural heritage and modern design
It could be.
to create something beautiful and meaningful?
It's definitely worth thinking about.
Well, thanks for coming on this deep dive with me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I hope you found it as fascinating as I did.
Me too.